Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Saturday Morning Comic Review. I am your host, Dylan Wallace. Today, we got a great issue for you guys. We're going to be reviewing 10 books as per usual. We'll talk about our pulls from this week. We'll talk about the pulls for next week. And we'll just go ahead and jump right into it. So let's start with the pulls of the week. Flip over to our screen here. Oh, those are actually last week's polls. So for this week, it was actually kind of a pretty small week. So just 11 overall, which is good. That's kind of where we want to be. Before we do that, though, let's talk about the picks of the week. So right now, as far as top picks, you had Captain America #1, and I was on the fence about getting this one, right? Because I've been talking about it on the show. If you're here for a while, you already know, but trying to pare down the pull list as much as possible. And so with Captain America, it's going to be a new, long ongoing series. So I decided, maybe let's not get sucked into that. And, usually the #1s, especially for someone like Zdarsky, is going to be really good and suck me in. So I was like, all right, let's just avoid it. So not super surprised to see it as #1, but nonetheless, I don't have it, unfortunately. But that's okay. Green Lantern #4, I have that. Ultimate Wolverine #7, I have that. And then Batgirl, and then Secret Six. I do not have either one of those. So just 2 of the 3 for this week, but just always like to check in on those real quick before we get into the main show. So now, for the 11 polls here, it's probably easiest if I just tell you what I am not reviewing, because everything on here ended up being kind of a current week, and only one was a backlog. And then on top of that, there is one book that's missing from here. So the X-Men Hellfire Gala, The Vigil. I didn't have it on the poll list here, but I did. I remember putting in an order for that for the shop, and of course that did show up as well. So I'll just read through the list here, and pretty much all of these we reviewed. I'll just call it the one backlog. So we have Absolute Green Lantern #4, Arcbound #5, The Avengers 28, Batman 89 Echoes #6, Bitter Roots The Next Movement #4, The Immortal Thor #25, Medieval Spawn #3, Nullhunter #9, Resurrection Man Quantum Karma #4, The Ultimate Wolverine #7, and then X-Men #19. And that is the backlog, just that last book there. So that I won't get to for quite a while. But Vigil, I will not reviewing it today, but I will have that on the next Omega, is the plan anyways. So with that, let's go ahead and jump right into our reviews. And then a reminder for you guys, in case you're new to the show or the channel, these reviews, I do spoil the heck out of all of these books. So if you're not looking for spoilers, this is just not going to be the show for you. So just kind of keep that in mind. But I'll try to catch you up on the story, talk about this book, talk about where it's going, and if it's a good time to jump in, and then give my score and all that. So usually I give the score up front and then kind of talk through it. So you can see up on the screen, if you're on the video format, we have the first book here. We'll go through it in this order in particular, so I'll just read off all the titles first. We have Ultimate Wolverine #7. Then we have Arcbound #5. Then Nullhunter #9. Batman 89 Echoes #6. The Avengers #28. The Immortal Thor #25. That is the conclusion to that series. Medieval Spawn #3. Resurrection Man Quantum Karma #4. Bitterroot #4. And then we'll close it out with Absolute Green Lantern #4. And usually I have all the absolutes and the ultimates up front, but I was like, you know what? Let's go ahead and push that towards the back. Just because I want to spice things up a little bit. Why not? Why not? So we'll start off here with Ultimate Wolverine #7. And for this book here, I just read it this morning. I gave it a 4. Lee gave it a 3.8. And of course, I'm on the wrong screen. That's the one we want to go with. And this book was good. So I did enjoy it. Where we picked up off here, we are exactly where we left off from the previous issue, was good. Lot of exposition for this this book in comparison to what the other Ultimate Wolverines have been. Most of the other ones have been very fast storytelling, and a lot of the storytelling through the artwork. This one is telling us everything that's going on, and less so through the artwork, which is fine. I think we deserved it at this point, especially after the climax of, obviously we knew that Logan was the Winter Soldier. Now he's been snapped out of that, and he's brought back to the opposition, which is effectively the X-Men, and now he's like coming to grips with everything that he's done. So that is what a lot of this issue is about. You have Logan up on the top of like whatever nuclear power plant that they're at. I believe it's Chernobyl, and they've done a way of disguising it so that way it's not shown on any of the maps. And Logan's up there. Kitty Pryde comes up there to talk, and basically just saying all the horrible things. He has bits and pieces of memories of the things that happened. And Kitty's like, hey, you were on the influence of Colossus, Omega Red magic, right? Underneath their control and their spell. There's nothing that you could have done about it. And like, he has valid points, like, but at the end of the day, the blood of the people that I killed is on my hands. And it's only so much that you can do. You can't change the outcome of everything that's happened. And he's even killed Nightcrawler and Mystique as well. So they're lost and gone. Now that he's back with the opposition, you can tell some of the folks are just looking at him totally, completely different. Some of the people are absolutely horrified of him because, like, what if he snaps back into the Winter Soldier? Kind of the typical reactions, and trying to get over everything that has happened and somehow move past it and continue the focus and the mission of the opposition of trying to take down, the powers that are in place right now. And so with that, we get to a point where Logan meets up and he sees Sabretooth for the first time. And so he confronts him. Sabretooth kind of tries to crack a joke, but obviously Logan doesn't take it well at all. And he's like, I told you if I was ever compromised that you were supposed to take me out, and you didn't. And Sabretooth is like, what do you want me to do? Like, just suicide mission, go in there just to try to take you out? That's the first opportunity that I had, and instead I saved your life and I pulled you back out of it. So some conflict over that. And then they basically decide, full group meeting. We've been on the defensive for long enough. Now that we have the Winter Soldier as a piece off the board and back on the opposition, let's go ahead and go on the attack. So that's like the whole plan. On the opposite side of the fence, Dr. Provovich, I think her name is the head of like the Winter Soldier program, and they're trying to hide the fact that Logan has been compromised and is no longer their asset or their Winter Soldier. But of course the superiors, that they find out about everything, and so with that they decide, okay, what we're going to do now is Dr. Provovich, we're going to torture you, basically. So Omega Red finds out, lets Magic know. Magic takes her into limbo and is like, tell me basically why I shouldn't kill you and just torture you for eternity for this huge mishap. And she basically says, I have a way of destroying the total opposition, and I have a plan to put it together. So they all talk with Colossus, and basically they're going to figure out on like how to go and execute that plan and what exactly all that is. So that's the story of where we're at right now. Where we're probably headed, I mean, we're just going to see how the plans kind of unfold. I don't know if it'll be the actual attack that goes first or if it'll be a formulation of the plan. Maybe we go down parallel paths. We'll have to see. For this one, tough to say to jump in now. I think it is a good starting point, but you miss so much of what happened in the first 6 issues. So it is a clean break of like, you missed Logan as the Winter Soldier, so that's fine. You are kind of caught up on like the things that he's done. I think that's fine, so you'd be okay here. My preference to you would be just start with number 1, but I think you'd be fine, but just understand that you're on like a different arc, and you missed a lot of really good stuff during 1 through 6. So more times than not, this has been voted my comic of the week. So, and it was pretty close this week as well, but that's going to go to a different one. So again, that's Ultimate Wolverine number 7. I gave it a 4. Lee gave it a 3.8. Let's go into some of the artwork here. Almost forgot about that. Artwork is similar to what we've seen from Ultimate Wolverine, I'd say. So, here is them on the top of Chernobyl. And artwork, for the audio listeners, is a lot of like darker shades and hues and colors that are used throughout. It's a pretty dark story of, you have Wolverine being compromised and then used as like this murderous weapon for this group under Magic, Colossus, and Omega Red in the Ultimate Universe. So it's always kind of been on the darker side, but a lot of action focus, especially during the torture and limbo that Magic's going through. Here is basically where they're talking through their plan to go on the offensive and splitting out the teams. all the X-Men, but mutants looking like badasses, getting ready to go, and then finally getting prepared to decide what exactly they are going to do next to stop the opposition. So yeah, that is Ultimate Wolverine number 7. Again, I gave that a 4. Lee gave it a 3.8. So next up here, I'm loving this book so much. This is Arcbound number 5. I gave it a 4.5. Lee gave it a 4.3. And this one is going to be the comic of the week. Really good. I just finished reading it, so this is the final of the 10 books that I just read. So maybe recency bias, but I don't think so. This is a space opera, basically, and we're trying to understand both sides of this conflict. It's very much Empire and Rebels type of situation that we have here, but the way that it's done, the way that it's written, and how much I care about the characters is just a testament to how excellent they've done of exposition without getting us like way in over our heads on like what the hell is actually going on, but at the same time like keeping it like fast paced enough to like, okay, we're actually moving along and I understand the objective and the goals and like the stakes that everything is at right now. So really good job of basically threading that needle. So Arcbound here, Tom Hardy is on this as well, like the actor, which is pretty crazy. The art in this it's been really, really good. More of like Saturday morning cartoonish is the way that I would kind of describe it. But we have basically this guy that was high up on like the Empire side, if you will. He was betrayed, and with that, he was sent down and supposed to die. He was saved, and with being saved, they're like, okay, there's a cost to that, and so now you're going to help fight for us and fight against the Empire. And since he was betrayed and like saved, he's like, okay, I might as well. But he's got a wife that still kind of works for the Empire in this case. But what they're trying to do is sneak into like the Great Vault and prove out that there's like this conspiracy of these long lost beings, but they like still kind of exist. And so the only way to find that is in the Great Vault. And so that's what they decide to do is they go there, and this issue picks up where we have this heist taking place. So they sneak in just barely. It's funny, they like ping back basically to home base where Kai is our protagonist. His wife is there, and she's like a head officer of logistics. So she gets a ping of like, this is where they're heading. And on the way, they're about to get to the vault, and the commander there is like talking about, this vehicle or ship that's trying to dock, on the manifest. And it's like, no, you know how things go, they're last second, so just give me a chance here. And it looks like they're about to blast them out of the sky. She sends the communication real quick and then allows them in. So of course they sneak in, they try to do the whole fake prisoner thing, they get caught, so now they have to go running in, blasting, gunning away. Back at home, the wife has found out that she's helping out, so they're using her as like almost a bargaining chip of like, Kai and team, stop what you're doing and then we'll trade back the wife. But they don't listen, and they just keep going in full press, and they get to the main vault, and they open it up, and it's one of what's called the Evers, which is basically like this ancient alien race that's been like out there of like, they destroyed everything, and we have to like bulk up to protect ourselves against them, and they're like torturing or experimenting on one of them. So it's a big reveal that they do actually exist, and it's not like this crazy myth. So we'll all see what then happens from here. So a lot of action, really good. This is like a climatic part, so I do not recommend jumping in at issue number 5 here. You want to start with 1, but the way that they like thread in a bunch of different, mystery and like, okay, what's actually happening here? Who are we going after? And putting together this team for this heist. I am a sucker for heist books as well. It's just really good and really well done. So excellent job here. Flipping through the art real quick. Again, the quality on the art is like really good from like a detail perspective, but then also like the high saturation on the coloring as well. So it's tough to describe unless you're actually looking at it. If you guys play Marvel Rivals a little bit, I feel like it's kind of that art style as well. So maybe a tiny bit of like an anime influence to it, but overall, I really would describe it as like a morning cartoon, but come to life in a comic book. And like, look at this full spreads here. Like, this is like pretty epic and dope that you have from both sides here. So yeah, I've just been enjoying the heck out of this book overall. I picked it out on a whim just from the cover during the previews, and here's where the one of the Ever is revealed. But yeah, I just picked it up based on that, and then it said Tom Hardy. It's like, okay, I'll give it a try, and then a whole bunch of ads for other stuff that you have coming. And I'm glad that I did. It's been great thus far, and I can't wait for the next one to come out. So that's Arcbound, issue number 5. I gave it a 4.5. Lee gave it a 4.3, and that is the comic of the week. Next up here we have Nullhunter number 9. And man, I am so mixed on this. It's like, where exactly are we heading with this book? So I gave it a 4. Lee gave it a 4.2. I would say overall for this book, I mean, look at the cover. It might be the cover of the week. I mean, it's really good. I just like how the intricate detail here, and then once you read through the story, it actually makes a lot more sense, which is pretty cool too. But this is almost like a Monster of the Week style of book is the way to describe it, especially now at this point, because I would have thought it would have gone a different direction at this point, but it hasn't. So we have Clay, who has worked for Olympus in the past. He was somehow tricked or coerced into killing his son and his wife. So he has these like mechanical arms that were like used in battle, and he had like a PTSD moment. And this all happened back in issue 1. And so he thinks he's fighting someone and like trying to strangle and kill someone, but then when he comes out of it, it's actually his kid and his wife. So they're dead. He goes into prison, of course, and he wants to just die. But someone from the inside at Olympus is like, hey, we know who did this, and someone, we're going to help you get back to them. But obviously we can't just like let you free. We'll have you as like a weapon of Olympus, and basically be part of our charge, and then you can then be set free, and then as long as you do our bidding, we'll let you then have revenge on whoever did this. But it's kind of revealed that it was actually Olympus the whole time, and they just wanted a way of bringing him back as like their mercenary. And so each one of the issues has been like a different adventure that they've gone on, and this one continued it. I thought we were at a point where Clay was just going to go after like the heads of, like, they call it the high table, like very similar to John Wick and all that stuff. Like, it's something like that, like the table or something. And so I thought he was going to go after those members, but then now we're back into, basically Monster of the Week. And so this monster that they're going after is some sort of enormous space station way out in the galaxy, but is 100% controlled by AI. So it's like this autonomous AI that runs an enormous space station out there, and it's gone rogue. So it has some sort of virus, but this AI is like true, like superhuman intelligence type deal, where it's trying to like recreate its own children and things like that, like start a family. So it's like totally corrupt and like starting its own society. And so they go out there, and of course they're tasked with shutting it down. So they use a whole bunch of different distractions and decoys. The mother is what the AI is. Sends out like her oldest son, which is like, of course, this like robotics with a whole bunch of like cybernetics and things connected all across. And like it's like a hodgepodge of like different robots like put together, and starts like attacking. But all of that was a distraction because they have an AI of her own that she's been throughout kind of the story from the first or maybe the second issue of a warrior, like the personality of someone that used to fight with Clay. And so she goes in and she's able to hack and then, reset whatever this AI that's gone rogue. So that way she's no longer, doing what she's doing. But the whole time she's talking about a revolution and taking down Olympus and everything that she's done or they've done to her family and so on and so forth. So you kind of feel for this AI in the end of like just trying to survive. But as always, that's like kind of the calling card of this book, is it makes you feel as though, man, this company, like this, whatever, it's effectively an empire, is just terrible. And just having Clay and the other people that he's picked up along the way do these horrible, horrible things in the name of this company. So I thought we were at the point of like, all right, last 4 or 5 issues or whatever, we're going after Olympus and like the heads there. But then somehow we reverted back to this. So we only have a couple more issues. I think it goes until issue 12. So they got to really pick it up at some point. I would hate for it to all be rushed in one final issue. And even if that's like a double feature, I'd like it to build out that conclusion a little further. So we'll have to see where exactly it goes. As far as jumping in now, I don't think it'd be a good time to jump in, just because you don't have the context of why Clay is on this journey at all in this book. Like, you already need the other ones to understand what's going on. Full transparency there. So maybe you have to go back. I want to say it's like issue 6 is probably the one that you want to jump in there. That sounds about right. So yeah, that's Nullhunter. It's been a good series thus far. I will ride it out to the end here because we are so close, and I'm intrigued. But I'd like them to just kind of get on to the final act, if you will, of the series. So again, I gave it a 4. Lee gave it a 4.2. Show off some of the art here. The art here has been very good, like very dark and twisted and bloody and gory. So, here is inside this autonomous base and trying to build out this child. Is this AI robot, and then this is what the space station looks like. It's like this enormous looking fortress thing, which is crazy. So, now they're like inside it, and they're fighting throughout it, trying to create all these distractions. This is the mother basically here, which you can see a little bit from the glare, that they're trying to go after. And this is the amalgamation, like her oldest son, if you will, that's sent out to defend against Clay. It's like kind of like not his son, but like adopted son that he's basically picked up along the way, and the others. And then you just get some exposition as to why she is the way that she is, and that Olympus like tortured her and everything like that. And then their AI going in and actually severing it, internally, but just basically rebooting the virus itself. So yeah, it's a crazy story for this one, and it's been good thus far, but I'd like to see it get to that third act, of course. So, and then this is like the oldest like trying to talk to the mother and like bring her back. Kind of a sad, twisted, screwed up story, but it's good. So again, I gave it a 4. Lee gave it a 4.2. And then next up here, we get into the bad stuff. I'm not even gonna front. So this is Batman 89 Echoes number 6, which is the finale of this one. I'm just gonna say it right from the jump. I do not recommend this book. This was pretty horrible. And sorry if you hear things in the background. It is 4th of July, so people are starting to shoot off fireworks. I wanted to record this so that way I didn't have to worry about it in the morning, but that's what you're gonna have to deal with. So, but yeah, this one, it is just abysmal. This conclusion of this book. I gave it a 3. Lee gave it a 2.7. Right, like that is pretty bad, and I just don't know what they were thinking here. Like, did you read the rest of the stuff? We introduce characters here for no freaking reason. There's like no continuity from what actually happened before to what's happening now. We skipped like 9 different things, and now suddenly we're trying to weave in a brand new story all into one, and not even that makes sense. It's bad, guys. It's really bad. So much so to the point where it's like I don't even know where to begin to explain the book to you. I'm going to do my best. Up to this point, it's all about the fear gas. We have Harley Quinn like becoming Harley Quinn in this issue a little bit. It really has nothing much at all to do with the Joker. It's all about her getting this role as a TV kind of personality and interviewing these weird people. And she goes into an asylum, and then she basically kind of finds herself turning into, one of the crazy people that are in there. Batman goes into the asylum because he's trying to basically figure out where the fear gas is coming from. It's the head of the asylum that is doing it, spreading the fear gas. The gas has been spread. Batman is broken out of the asylum after he himself was going through some of the experimentation and some of the drug trials and things like that. Harley is basically back and now like full straight up Harley Quinn at this point, taking over the station, and she's got a whole bunch of hostages. Then the fear gas is like kind of quelled and stopped for now, but they're trying to prevent the sale of the fear gas before it goes somewhere else within Gotham or it leaves Gotham. That basically catches you up to where things are at now. At this point now, somehow Ra's al Ghul is brought into this, and it's like, what the hell? He's brought into it and then captures Batman, but like Batman kind of went willingly. He has a sidekick named Drake who kind of helped out while he was in the asylum and was working on things on the outside. Then there's like a police, like Batwoman, who's brought in, who wasn't really featured as well. And then they're just basically trying to save Bruce while he's caught with Ra's al Ghul. It's like, dude, what the F are we talking about here? I don't freaking get it. All this happened in one issue. So dumb. And so I guess they saved the day. I don't know if the fear gas was destroyed, sold, where it's at. Harley Quinn's left talking with Catwoman for some reason and like trying to figure out what all's going to happen there. It's just a cluster. I should have probably given it a lower score, but the art's pretty decent. So forget the story. Let's just go ahead and just talk through the art. My goodness. I do not recommend this book if you couldn't tell. But look at the art. The art's good. I mean, it's kind of standard DC stuff, but I think overall, like, pretty good. Anytime you have some of the overlapping, features and things, I think it's pretty good. And then, reminder, it's 4th of July, so I hear it going. You probably hear it too. We're just going to power through because that's what we do. The show must go on. So, and it's like the text here, there's like so much they're trying to explain, but it's also saying nothing. You know what I mean? Like there's just a bunch of text just to be having text. Like you don't need all this, and it's not saying much of anything. So, man, it's just a miss overall. I don't recommend the series at all. It's been a whiff. I was hoping they'd land the ship, and this is probably before the era of like starting to drop stuff. I would have dropped this. So it's just poor. So anyways, I gave it a 3. Lee gave it a 2.7. That's Batman 89 Echoes, number 6. I do not recommend. Then, next up here, The Avengers 28. So let's go uplift things a little bit more because I did enjoy this book. I gave it a 4. Lee gave it a 3.7. This is the finale here on the Masters of Evil, which I believe was a 4-part or maybe a 5-part, all in the one world under Doom. But we close out this particular arc for the Avengers. And so for this, it is focused on Captain America Sam Wilson and the Black Panther at this point. So the Avengers were either helping or in the middle of a fight. I couldn't remember if it was with Doom or against Doom or something to do with that. But Sam Wilson was hurt, right? And he is not as, indestructible as the rest of the Avengers. So he's sent back up to the Impossible City. So when he's sent up there, he's by himself. T'Challa is in one of, it's like a rune thing. Oh, I can't remember the name of it, but it's basically a prison from the Ashen Combine, and in there is like this almost vast world, and he's basically going through and liberating everyone that's in there. So he's doing that whole thing, which is inside the Impossible City. The Masters of Evil, they've taken it over and they've completely shut it down. When they shut it down, fortunately, there was like an avatar of the Impossible City, which is like a sentient super AI robot that was outside of like being within the computer system. So the whole ship, the Impossible City, which is an enormous like aircraft carrier in the sky, but like times 10, is shut down. Except for now, you have this sentient being, almost like Vision, that's still kind of by itself that has similar capabilities. So they're like, okay, I can fuse the suit or this avatar into you, Sam Wilson, as your suit of armor to be more protective and almost like an Iron Man type style thing. So that's what they do. And then Sam Wilson slowly starts picking off the Masters of Evil. And then he gets to the final two. T'Challa comes out from his excursion and he starts to help out as well. So you got the two of them. Now they're fighting off the Mad Capper, which is like their final boss, if you will. So that's where we're caught up. Now we have the fight going on right now. So the thing with him is he's like an evil genius, quite legitimately like 20 to 30 steps ahead of you as far as like theorizing where everything is going to happen statistically. So he already knows what's likely going to happen, already kind of predicted all these different outcomes. So they're like, yes, he's way smarter, but he's not, or like higher intellect, but he doesn't mean we can't outsmart him. They're like, how are we going to outsmart him? You basically got to do something completely unpredictable. And the way they do it, which I thought was a little clever, is, of course, this guy who has fused a lot of his abilities with the other Masters of Evil, he is going to keep track of everything that's happening within the Impossible City, from, of course, the Avengers themselves, any remnants of the Impossible City, what's happening on the outside. To keep folks distracted, he sent an asteroid from space towards New York City, so that's all happening there. The Impossible City itself is shut down. But what they figured he wouldn't actually be doing is keeping track of his other fellow Masters of Evil that are all down and incapacitated, either dead or unconscious or whatever the case may be. And so what happens is that avatar of Vision or whatever goes to one of the downed Master of Evil members, Dread Knight, and they grab him and brings him to one of the terminals who can override the system, because as long as it's a member of the Masters of Evil, they can do that. And then they reset the system. So the AI that took over the Impossible City is gone. Now it's just the Impossible City itself. And so now got all the capabilities that they had before. So what they can do now is beam the rest of the Avengers back, which is what they do. And then they all, of course, combine, take out the Madcap. Literally no problem whatsoever. So that's the way they do it. I thought it was clever, made sense to me. And then, of course, the Impossible City has the ability to retract that asteroid and then stop it from hitting New York. So that's all saved there. Closing this issue out, you had two things. Sam feeling down and out, like, shit, I let the team down. I'm not as powerful as everyone, but basically came to his realization that he still has a role in the team. That's fine. But the bigger piece is Storm and T'Challa, right? They were married previously in like this run that's been going on. So them being on the team together, Storm is probably the most recent recruit. And that's the reason T'Challa went into like this little prison thing to do his liberate and just kind of exercise his demons out. And came to the realization like, hey, we can coexist, we can make this work. Like, it doesn't all have to be about us. We can still focus and get our job done. So coming to that realization and actually being mature about it, which I thought was good. So overall, I liked the story. I thought it was clever, made a lot of sense to me. I was cool with it. Let's get into the artwork here. So for the art, very, kind of classic Marvel. Nothing too crazy or over the top. So here, basically starting the fight with the Madcap, and he's got infusions of all the abilities of all the other guys, and like they're barely able to withstand everything, but they talk through kind of their plan and what they did. So here's where they go to the Dread Knight, and they're like, you're probably not looking after your fellow Masters of Evil. Go to the restart, they're able to pull it, and then restart the Impossible City, then able to destroy the asteroid, then resummon all the Avengers that you have right there, which was good. So, yeah. And then, of course, at the end, have all of them in prison now, and then talking through all their issues and their drama. So there's T'Challa and Storm doing their thing. And then Captain America talking to Captain Marvel. Captain Marvel's the leader. And then just basically saying, hey, I got everything that I can do on my end as well. So, just coming to the realization that he can still contribute. I wonder if he's going to keep the suit, though. We'll see. I thought it was fine. Almost reminded me of like a Blue Beetle look or a little bit of Mega Man if you played that game at all. But it looked pretty cool. So, yeah. That is the Avengers number 28. Is it the time to jump in? No, because it's the finale here. The next one would be 29 is going to get back to the missing moment, which is what this Avengers run has been all about, like finding out what the missing moment is. That led to like, it has something to do with Kang, and then there's someone else that's like trying to go after it as well. Is it Meridian? Something like that. And the balance of the universe is, of course, at stake, like that level of threat. So they're trying to figure out all that stuff out. That's what a lot of this lead up has been. Of course, we have the event going on in One World Under Doom. So once I think all that comes to conclusion, then we'll kind of get back to that. I'd imagine a lot of it's all going to wrap up this year, because we've been going on for 2 years at this point. I don't know how often these resets happen, but once we find that, that'll probably be the big battle. Then we have a big old massive reset onto the next thing, and here we go again. So that would be my guess. So anyways, don't jump in this one, jump into the next one. Avengers 28, I gave it a 4, Lee gave it a 3.7. Then we get to the Immortal Thor, number 25. So this is the conclusion to the series, and this one means a lot to me because it wasn't the first long-form series that came to an end. That was the Invincible Iron Man, but still one of the first long-form series that I've picked up. So I think Invincible Iron Man came out a little bit after the Immortal Thor started, and that started around the same time as the Incredible Hulk. So this is, like, to me, like the first true one, even though Invincible Iron Man, I think, went to 18. So that's still a pretty decent run. But this one goes to 25. Thor was dead in the last issue. Obviously, I said I'd spoil it. Here is like, okay, so what happens afterwards now? So Thor's dead. They leave him dead. Loki was the one that killed him, and now we're trying to figure out what happens next. So Thor ends up in like kind of a purgatory type of deal. So when that happens, Scourge was supposed to defend basically the Shadow Bridge, which also in a way was tied to the Rainbow Bridge, which goes to Midgard. And so with Thor falling, he had to prevent Utgard Loki from getting into Asgard. So he was on the bridge, boom, sacrificed himself and the bridge. So Scourge falls down into oblivion, and which is tends to happen to Scourge anyways. He usually ends up sacrificing himself in some way, shape, or form, so to be expected there. But with the destruction of the Black Bridge, and more specifically the Rainbow Bridge, there's no more tie now to Midgard. Midgard is Earth. So there's no more tie to Earth, and so much so to the point where nobody on Earth even remembers Thor or any of the other Asgardians happening, and they've like, it's as though they've never existed. So it's like funny, they're going through a game show and a woman's like, oh, name all the original Avengers. So she's going through all of them, and then instead of saying Thor, it's now changed with the alien Billy Ray. Like, that's how much it's gotten to. Like, they don't exist. They've never heard of them. And so the Asgardians and with Surf and everyone else, like, yeah, we can still get to the other realms, but now Midgard is like completely distant and gone. So that happens. In Purgatory, Thor finds his evil version of himself, who he fought in a couple of issues earlier. But now this is like the evil version of Thor's realm. And Thor can't summon Mjolnir here, but the evil version can summon Helnir, is its name. And he just starts kicking Thor's ass throughout this book. So just bludgeoning him left, right, and center. Throws the thing in it. The Helnir has like a spike on the end of it. So throws that, goes into his eyes. And like just beating the crap out of him, basically. So much to the point where I don't know how it happens, but basically Thor ends up in Midgard. And he ends up in Midgard and wakes up. Midgard is Earth. And it's some guy, and he says his name, and it almost sounds like Loki, and he looks like Loki, but it's not. And he basically says, yeah, you just got mugged or something. So what's your name? And he says like a random person, like a commoner's name. And he has like zero recollection as to who he is or what the hell is going on. And it sets up now the new series, which is going to be the Mortal Thor. So instead of Immortal, the Mortal Thor. And so that is going to be the next run and what Thor is up to as a mortal. I'm not going to be there for it. Me personally, just still trying to keep things pared down. I think if anything, get into a long form series, I'd want to do something else, like Captain America, for example. But I think right now I just need some more things to fall off before I'd be willing to like jump in. And then maybe I'll start considering going into a longer form thing in like September time frame, maybe even October. And the reason I say that is with our shop, even when I drop things, you tend to get one more issue. Like there's something in the polls that I already dropped and like I don't necessarily want, but you know, them be the rules. So, and who am I? Like I'm still gonna read it. Like let's be honest. But in the future, I think after I get through July, 100% it's cut off, we're done, and then now we're on to like what the new cadence will be, and then you know some things will start to fall off as well. And then anytime we dip below into like you know the 8-9s, it's like okay, now you can add some extra books, whether it be a mini series, long series, we'll have to see. But for me, I'm like Thor is like cool, yeah, 25. I mean 25 is 2 years plus if you're taking one a month, right? So if one a month would be 24 gets you to 2 years, and you know you imagine you had some delays here and there as well. So I think that's enough Thor for me. It's bittersweet for it to come to an end. I think it ended pretty well. So that's kind of cool for me personally of like, wow, you went through this whole thing. I think it started off super strong, maybe a bit of a lull in the middle, then started to pick up towards the end is the way that I would describe it. So yeah, that's the Immortal Thor. Issue number 25. Let's go through the art. Art's just as strong as ever, which is good. So they ended here pretty good. That's Scourge basically, but Loki trying to explain himself a little bit. Thor down and out, he's gone. Man, I can only imagine if you picked up this issue and this is like the first comic you read and like Thor's dead. Like look how cool that is, huh? So the shattering throughout of like the Rainbow Bridge completely gone, so that keeps the Utgard Loki where he's at. And then yeah, so here's basically I'm describing it like, you know, Price is Right or Jeopardy, whatever game show of choice. So it's Thor, but like nope, it's actually here. It's Ray Bill or Yeah, sorry, Beta Ray Bill. I think I said Billy Ray before. I'm sorry about that. So now he's in purgatory. It's called the Twilight Kingdom, and that's where he runs into his evil self. So here, contemplating all the, like, I'm damned, but that's where he finds the evil version of himself, where he summons the Helmir, and then he just gets his ass kicked for like pages upon pages, where he's like stabbed in the eyes. It's like craziness. So, and I think basically Thor is like, I sacrifice myself. It explodes, and I didn't understand this part here. If that's actually Thor, or if that's someone else. If that's like the evil version of Thor. But it all goes black. And then he wakes up in Midgard, and the guy basically says he's Loki. But yeah, call me Lucky. And he's like, Lucky? And you're like, yeah. So, but it's almost like Loki. Lukki. Interesting. So, yeah, and now it just sets up next the Immortal Thor. So yeah, kind of cool. But anyways, I gave it a 4. Lee gave it a 4.3. Not the book to jump into. Obviously, it's the end. That couldn't be any clearer. Next, Medieval Spawn, number 3. I gave it a 4. Lee gave it a 3.8. We only have one more after this, so I don't know how the hell they're going to wrap all this stuff up this quickly. But basically for this one, let me just double check that. Yeah, just one more. Basically for this one, we have Hellspawn. There's some disease out there. They cleared out the disease in this town. They picked up this boy. His family was all killed and murdered. So they're trying to figure out, like, who did this. They think they know. They're trying to go after them. They've been wandering around in the forest for months and months and months. Finally, Spawn's like, okay, I think I know, like, a warlock, basically, that can help us out. And then we find that out in this issue that he's a warlock. But they encounter this ogre that's blocking the way. So that was part of it. The other part is, like, there's this enclave of, like, a bunch of monks. And basically one of the guys who's a monk is not actually really a monk, or he's like a lot more violent. It's like, hell with this, like we actually got to do something. So he basically tricks the head monk, ends up killing him, and decides to take on the whole enclave of like, yeah, we're going to go out to war, we're going to pursue this Hellspawn. So the start of this issue, it's I say orc, it's actually ogre, but either way, it's enormous, right? Huge ogre, like, or maybe a troll, I don't know, some huge colossal thing. They take it down, they kill it pretty quickly, and then sure enough the warlock is there. We're like, hey, he was like my guard dog, you didn't have to do that. And it was like, well, if I would have known you were here, we wouldn't have done it. So it's kind of fine, but you can tell that Spawn and this guy, they don't really get along too well. And Spawn basically says, like, whatever it takes to get us an answer, it is going to cost us dearly. So they're talking through, hey, here's what we think that's happening, can you help us pinpoint where exactly like this poison, this blight, and this plague is coming from? And they're like, yeah, I think it could be like some sort of parasite demon type deal. And it's like, all right, let me summon it. So they go ahead, they summon, and they bring this demon. And it is like this huge, crazy looking demon thing. And the boy is immediately pissed off because, like, this is the source of what killed his family and his whole village. So Spawn's like, chill, just be easy. Like, we'll figure out what to do next. And the warlock's, yeah, we can. He's been feeding off a whole bunch of different souls and causing the spread. But what we can do is like concentrate him in like some sort of blessing being like a mouse, and then like we'll just have it trapped in this mouse like forever. And so they decide to do that, but the warlock needs like a lot of time to do that and like focus and concentration. But the boy, he's immature and his like emotions are running high, and he like wants to kill this guy, and he keeps like screaming and shouting, going back and forth. And so the warlock is kind of distracted. All at the exact same time, the Enclave has now arrived at the entrance of like this cave that they're in, and they have like some secret like biological weapons of their own. They have this like screaming woman on the outside, and so they're going to use her to like start the fight, and then they have a whole bunch of other like different like beasts and beings as well to help take down the Hellspawn. So they start off with that. She makes a whole bunch of noise, and it gets to the point where the warlock is so distracted that they turn and the warlock's just gone. And like, oh shit, he screwed up the spell, or like, we don't know what happened. So now you got the demon loose on one side, Hellspawn in the middle, and then the other enclave on the entrance of the cave on the other side with the boy. And they're like, what the hell are they gonna do? Hellspawn boy, demon on one side, and then like this army on the other. Like, they're screwed. And that's the end of the book. So it's like, oh shit, huge cliffhanger. Where the hell is it going to go? So again, I gave it a 4. We'll hop into the art here. It's just a 4-parter, so obviously this is not the place to jump in. So this is them marching on towards the Hellspawn. Like, yeah, what would you call that? An ogre, a troll, an orc? I don't know. I guess more troll if you're going like based on Harry Potter lore. But I would say ogre. I don't know. But either way, they're fighting it, and then they're able to slay it and bring it down, and then boom, here he is, the warlock who was hanging out there, invites him on in. Oh, and I should say, in return for controlling and summoning this demon, he wanted a favor, but he didn't specifically name what it's going to be. And now that he's disappeared, who knows? So we go and summon, and boom, this is the demon, this crazy looking dude. And so here's where they're going back and forth, and they're like, yes, we can control it. We just got to put it into this little mouse. Here is where the Enclave shows up to attack. And then, yeah, they got like this crazy, almost like a banshee type lady to go in. So now the warlock is like, dude, there's so much shit going on here. Hellspawn goes and takes her out real quick. But when they turn back, the warlock is completely gone and missing. And then now they're staring down the demon. They got the army behind them. And then the boy and the Hellspawn are in between. So not looking good. Not looking good at all. We'll see how it all comes to a close here. Again, I gave Medieval Spawn a 4. This is Medieval Spawn 3. I gave it a 4. Lee gave it a 3.8. So, good book there. Then we get to Resurrection Man Quantum Karma, book number 4. I don't know how to feel about this book. The score would say a 4. Lee gave it a 4.4. But this is another one of those where I look at this and I'm like, am I just an idiot? Like, reading through this one from Rom V, it is so confusing. I get the gist of it. But as I'm reading it, it's like so sing-songy and like all this like poetic, like very high level of like what the hell is actually going on here. So I get the crux of it, but as I'm reading through it, it's like just a tough read and you have to like reread stuff. And in the end, I'm like, I'm not even fully sure if I got everything that they're talking about here. So I really just don't know. But with this is, we got 2 more books after this one, so third to last. This book here is about Resurrection Man, and his whole gimmick or his superpower or whatever is that whatever kills him, he resurrects and takes on that power moving forward. So if he dies from gunfire, he's able to like maybe shoot some sort of projectiles. If he dies from fire, he has fire abilities. If he dies drowning, maybe he can control water. Like, you get the basis. So in the first book, basically he dies of old age, right? He lived a good long life and he dies of old age, and he dies technically then from time. So his new ability when he comes back to life is being able to wield time. And Resurrection Man, once they get to the point of where time is the thing that they're able to wield, they end up kind of in this new purgatory, different place outside of reality, and they all kind of end up there. And so there's one main Quantum Man that's there, and it's like, yes, you've arrived. Here's where we all end up once you've learned time, and then here's what you're going to do from now on. And we learn about the history of, I guess it's like the original Resurrection Man, of lives that he lived before, and when he's died, and what he came back as. And for more times than not, it seems like he was a prisoner of war for X, Y, and Z reason, and he would come back and then like liberate the camp. Then in the last issue, he like fell in love with a woman, but she was working on some crazy scientific thing, completely betrayed her in order to figure out what this thing is, and then I guess use it as part of like the time continuum for the benefit of like the original Resurrection Man. So now we get to book 4, and I can't even truly explain like what the full book is, but the premise basically is that the main or the first Resurrection Man is going into all these different universes and trying to find all these different outcomes and here's where I don't really know what they're going after, but maybe trying to find like the ideal timeline or where everything's perfect, or I don't know what he's going after truly, and I just don't know. That's the confusing part. But the Resurrection Man that just is new to this whole thing is like, I have to stop him, and i.e. I have to stop myself. So I have to also now find a way to conceal myself from myself is the premise of the cliffhanger and where we're going to go after that. So just basically coming to the realization that like I'm screwing all this up and making bad things happen for a whole bunch of different universes, I guess for eternity, with like no end in sight. And so I have to end the loop. I have to, like, if you saw the movie Looper, like that's like the type of thing that we're running into right now. Like you have to take out yourself. So sorry for spoilers on that one, but that is a very old movie at this point. So that is the premise. That's where we're at. That's what we're doing for the book here. The art is pretty crazy. I will say definitely going to be interior art of the week, as it usually has been. It's just pretty wild stuff. I mean, like, look at this in here already from like the full spread that you get early on. It's just how do I describe it? You know, kind of warmer hues and colors, but then you have like some of the like these like meltier, trippier types of scenes that you have here. I don't even know where to begin to explain this one, but it's like almost hieroglyphics, but then you have some demonic things that are going on as well. It's like borderline cell shaded, but it's really not. Like, look at this right here. Like, incredible. Tough to see because of, let's see if we get the camera to kind of zoom in properly. But man, it's like freaking nuts. The type of scene that you have going on, like total destruction and complete mayhem, and like all these things that I guess have been happening throughout time under Resurrection Man's like watch. But again, I don't know to what end. I don't know what exactly he's trying to achieve. But all he knows is that the one is he needs to stop the main one, because all of this is like not worth all the destruction that's taking place here. So that's the point basically. So yeah, that's Resurrection Man. Quantum Karma, I don't even know if I can really recommend it. The art is actually what pushes it to a 4. Otherwise, on story, I'd say it's kind of a 3.5. It's a rare miss from Ron V, in my opinion. I of all of his other ones, there hasn't been a miss. So this is the one where I'm like, I don't know. Even the New Gods, like there are elements of that are super confusing as well. But overall, I'd say that's better than this one. But maybe on like, this is the lowest of Ron V that I've read. Then it would be the New Gods. Dawn Runner, I love that one a lot. So yeah, I don't know. It's a weird one for me. But anyways, I gave it a 4. Lee gave it a 4.4. If you're going to start, you got to start from the beginning, though. That would be my recommendation on this book. So, next up here, second to last, we have Bitter Roots, The Next Movement, number 4. And this one was a big exposition book for sure. So I gave it a 4. Lee gave it a 3.9. We learned basically a lot more about the Bitter Root, more on this governmental agency, how it forms, what like their objective is, and what they're trying to achieve. We learn a lot about that in this book, and how they want to go about stopping the Jinyu. So to give you a quick background on this, it's a FBI agency of a bunch of black people that are trying to stop what's called the Jinyu, and it's basically white people that'll like transform into these monsters. Starting to understand more of this is an allegory for like these monsters as like just pure like racism is the monster, if you want to put it into like a reality context. But they turn into these monsters, and then they'll just attack. So they go in and they'll kind of purify them and cleanse them of like one of two ways. One is trying to convert them back to human. The other is actually killing them. So that is the debate that's on the table. And we learn in the past of like how they came to this argument. For the most part, they've always just wanted to convert through, conversation and experimenting and trying to get them to convert back to just regular human. But one guy is like, and he's relatively new, it's like, this isn't working. These efforts in these old ways, we can't keep up. There's more Jinyu attacks. There's less and less of us. We have less resources. We just have to kill. Like, we just gotta purge is what we have to do. So those are like kind of the two conflicting methods. A lot of the book explains all of that. Then the next piece that we have here is they're in the midst of trying to solve a Jinyu attack, and clear out the Jinyu that have attacked in, I want to say it's Kentucky. It's either Kentucky or Alabama. I can't remember. But either way, they're trying to figure all that stuff out. They found where they were. Some were killed. Some of them were captured. We're at the point now where there are a couple more stragglers. One of the agents has found them, but he's the one that actually wants to kill them. The local FBI are pissed off. They want nothing to do with having this black agency here. The actual FBI is helping as well. It's 2 agents. One of them seems to be on the side of like the Jinyu don't exist, it's not a thing anymore. The other one's like a younger guy, and he's like, I think the Jinyu still exists. We need to like investigate this a little more thoroughly. Find out that the local authorities go in and have their own agenda, and they shoot the older FBI agent who's like kind of skeptical. In this issue, you find out that that was endorsed by the governor, that they wanted them to do this in order to like keep things on the hush and like try to neutralize the FBI agency. And in this issue, we also learned that the younger one is like some sort of demonic being as well. So not exactly sure what that is. Looks like it could be part Jinyu, but maybe it's something entirely different. I think that might be revealed into the next book. But the other thing that we learned at the end is like the Jinyu form from like this garden of evil, basically. And where that standoff took place between the local law enforcement, the FBI, and the younger one turned into like this demon as well, was on like the fertile ground of like this garden of evil. And then that's like kind of captured and wrapped everyone up, and it looks like they're all about to be consumed by this garden of evil. So that's what takes place. Pretty wild book, pretty crazy, but it is clear that like the Jinyu, like what it represents, is truly just like racism itself, and like how it's spread out through the South, and like how do you stop it? And do you go kind of the non-violent path of Martin Luther King, or do you go the violent path of like Malcolm X, right? This is really what I'm understanding it to be, and it's kind of crazy how they frame it up in this kind of sci-fi mystery is the best way to describe it. So yeah, that's Bitter Roots. Got some more fireworks popping off on the outside, but the artwork here, excellent on this one. This, how do I describe this? It's more of like kind of tonal and shades of color. So the saturation it's still high degree, but it's almost like black and white with color. It's a weird way to describe it, but if you saw it, you know exactly what I mean when I say it. So all the actual characters themselves look like they'd be in black and white, but then like the background is what's actually filled in color. It's a pretty interesting art style, so it's pretty cool. And this one has a mix of just, you know, conversational pieces, but then actual action stuff as well. So it's a cool book. It's Image, right? Yeah, Image book as well. And yeah, I've been surprisingly enjoying this one, and this is kind of the reveal here at the end of like this evil garden, and it's starting to take over everything, and them really trying to figure out now like which two paths do we go. You know, the purifying method hasn't really worked. Maybe we do need to go like the purge method. So I think I am on the final issue because it's just a 5-parter. So yeah, I am. Okay, because I was thinking about dropping this one. I couldn't remember if I did or I didn't, but I think I kept it on. So we have one more issue on this one. We'll see how it all comes to a conclusion. So that is The Bitter Root, number 4. I gave it a 4. Lee gave it a 3.9. And then last but not least, we have Absolute Green Lantern, issue number 4 here. I gave it a 4. Lee gave it a 4.1. Overall, this book, pretty good. We get a big reveal on this one, which is nice. Love to see that. So we have the two sides here, right? We have Hal, who's like evil, and then we have Jo, who looks like she's the Green Lantern. And we don't really understand how they've gotten their powers. Abin Sur showed up and completely put up this barrier around this small town. And when he did that, started judging or processing a whole bunch of these people, and it looked like they've been vaporized. And they're trying to figure out, you know, where everyone is. And slowly but surely, Abin Sur has been going to all these different people's homes as they've gone to shelter and like trying to figure out and stock up on weapons and food and a whole bunch of stuff, and just, I guess, been processing these folks and like disintegrating them into nothing. Throughout, it's like a non-linear story here, so we learn a little bit of the folks like trying to figure out exactly how this whole thing works with the barrier, and then just trying to take context clues of when people were processed or when someone went flying into the force field, like did they obliterate, did they stop or not? And so John Stewart tried a little experiment with some gold, and like basically came to the realization that gold is like able to get through the barrier some way, shape, or form. So they were trying it some more, and then Abin Sur showed up, processed, and then John Stewart was like eradicated basically. So that took place. Outside of like, and this is like a little more in the future, where you have Hal and Jo fighting each other in like some sort of diner. You're starting to realize now that this takes place in the future, and they're having a conversation and then talking about like the lives that were lost, and then you finally get the story as to how Jo got her powers. So back, and now we're in this issue like in full force here. So in the town, it's Jo, it's Hal, and then there's someone else there too. And they realize they are the last three. Everyone else has been processed or judged. I think it's processing or judged. I can't remember. It's one or the other. And with that, their whole thing was like, okay, we know gold has something to do with it. So we're going to get some bullets, paint them in gold, and then we'll distract him and then shoot him, and then hopefully that can pierce through whatever this barrier is that he has. So that's what the plan is. And Joe's the one that decides that's going to do the distraction, and Hal has to shoot the gun. So Joe goes out there, yells out to Abin Sur. He shows up. Hal tries to get in position, but Joe is actually talking with Abin Sur and getting more out of him rather than him just saying like the processing and like not paying attention and listening, and then suddenly whoever he's interacting with is just gone, like obliterated. So they're like, hold on, well, if Joe's actually getting some information, let's see how this all plays out. And basically Abin Sur is like, none of these people are dead. The only one that's dead is there's one person that went and shot a bullet and it ricocheted off and it hit someone. That's the only one that's dead. All this dead stuff, I don't know what you're talking about. They've just gone on to the next stage of the process. But like, what do you mean? Like, all these people have been like completely eradicated and blown up. So how have they not died? And so with that, Abin Sur is like, I don't know what you're talking about. And so he's like, I'm gonna like just leave. And so as he goes to leave, Joe reaches out and tries to grab him, and he's like almost like phasing out into like this green like smoke. And as he does that and Joe reaches out, she has her wedding ring on, which is a gold ring. So she's reaching into Abin Sur as he's like phasing, and then suddenly like that creates like the chemical reaction or what the hell ever, and it starts to like create this huge explosion. And we assume that is basically how Joe got her powers, and the whole dome comes like shattering down and explodes. So that's the story there. We'll still have to figure out what happens to Hal, what all happened to Abin Sur, what happened there. The other thing that's then revealed at the end is Hector Hammond, who I'm not a big Green Lantern guy, but he's like one of the main villains throughout the Green Lantern series and issues, so well known as part of the Rogue Galleries. But he basically shows up and is one of the first to arrive to the town now, and is just trying to scavenge and pick whatever's remaining at the site and be able to exploit whatever he can find. So he's arrived on the scene as well. So there's that element too. So that's Absolute Green Lantern number 4. We'll flip to the art here. I think a really good issue on art. This actually could have been close second on interior art, in my opinion. Very similar to what you see from like Absolute Flash, and not so much. I'm thinking about not the other three, but between Absolute Flash and Absolute Green Lantern, I'd say these are like the most similar, but very realistic style, if you will. So here's kind of where that conversation is taking place, and trying to figure out what all is going on. But the biggest piece here is actually, let me flip back. So here is where Joe reaches out, and so she's got the ring on right there, as you can see. And then when she reaches out, that's when like it's at the same time as he's phasing out, creates like this almost like explosion. So Abin Sur is like all left up and like looks like he's like gone and obliterated. Joe starts to like take on the powers of the Green Lanterns, and he's like just calling out anomaly, and then the whole thing like just comes crashing down and explodes across the town, and then just kind of leaving this lantern symbol just sitting there. And then this is where Hammond then shows up to then pick the bones, basically. So yeah, it's a interesting book that you got here. Pretty cool cover. I do like that. That actually might be one of the cover of the weeks. We'll have to see what exactly I picked there, but overall, I'm enjoying this one. Again, I gave it a 4. Lee gave it a 4.1. Is it the time to jump in? I think a lot of them have been pretty confusing, and that's intentional. I don't think it's been confusing in the way of like they're doing a poor job. They're just not trying to lead as much on and still keep the mystery going. So it's breadcrumbs, right, that they're slowly drip feeding us. So I think that's totally fine. And I actually think you'd be okay if you jumped in at this one. I think that would be fine there. So that's Absolute Green Lantern number 4. Again, I gave it a 4. Lee gave it a 4.1. So with that that concludes the review portion of the show. Let's go ahead and show you real quick those 10 again, just so you can remember. I had Ultimate Wolverine number 7, Arcbound number 5, and that was our comic of the week. Nullhunter number 9, pretty close for cover of the week. Batman 89 Echoes, I do not recommend. The Avengers Masters of Evil 28, I'd say 29 would be a good place to jump in. The Immortal Thor number 25, the end of this series. We start the Immortal Thor next. Then we have Medieval Spawn number 3, second to last one here. Very short 4-parter that we have going there. Resurrection Man Quantum Karma number 4, very confusing book, but hey, I mean, if you jumped in here, I guess you'd be fine, but maybe start with one. The Bitter Roots number 4, the next movement, second to last on this one. Finally get a reveal as to, what all is happening here and why they're going about the ways that they're doing it. So still more to be revealed. We'll see how that goes there. And then we'll kind of wrap it up here with Absolute Green Lantern number 4. And this one finally revealed how Jo got her powers. So those were the 10 books in that order. It's actually the first time where I've given a little brief synopsis of like high takeaway towards the end there. I kind of like that. So maybe we'll do that format kind of moving forward. So with that, let's go and jump into the polls for next week. And we're locked and loaded with those polls. It's just 11 for next week. And I was actually looking through, I think you have some backlogs here and some other like weird random items. So I don't think next week's episode is going to be like all new stuff. So we'll just have to see. So let's talk through them real quick. We have Absolute Superman number 9. Of course, we're going to read through that. Doctor Strange of Asgard number 5. Free Planet number 3. I dropped this. This will be the last of this series that I get. Green Lantern Corp number 6. Magic number 7, which I believe I dropped as well, so that'll be the last of that, but Magic is a backlog. Miles Morales Spider-Man number 35, which is a backlog. And just looking at that, I actually think that that's going to be my cover of the week. I mean, just look at that. It's almost like a Moana type of hieroglyphic sketch, but it's actually like Greek god. But it looks, for whatever reason, I see it and it's like Moana. That's what it says to me. So it looks pretty cool. Then we have, so here's an interesting one. Poison Ivy, Volume 5. This one is going to be a hardcover book, but I initially have been getting these. This is way before I started the podcast of like when I was going to travel, having a hardcover book. So that way like the pages didn't get messed up. And so just because I've been doing it for so long, it's something that I've just historically done. So anytime there's a new Poison Ivy in this run, that's a new volume and a hardcover, I get it just to add it to the collection. So it's strictly just a thing that I get for the sake of the collection. But I have the first 4 volumes, so I was like, I might as well keep it going. So that one will be, and of course I'm not going to read that. That's all like backlog stuff. Then we have The Power Fantasy, number 10. Dope book, can't wait for that. Transformers, number 22. Ultimate Spider-Man Incursion, number 2. And then Uncanny X-Men 17, I did drop that one. I think that's probably going to be the last of that, and that's a backlog as well. So outside of the weird ones, Uncanny I dropped, Magic's a backlog, Miles is a backlog, Poison Ivy is as well. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, minus 11, gets us to 7. So I really only have 7 books, and that means 3 will be Omega backlog type stuff in next week's. Assuming I didn't like forget something for some reason that is also going to be on here. So there may be some other straggler, like similar to how we had Hellfire Vigil for this one. But yeah, those are the books. Those are the polls. So let's go ahead and wrap things up for you guys. So really appreciate you tuning in. Link to all the socials is going to be in the description. So for Instagram, for TikTok, for anything else, if you want to reach out on email, Saturday morning CB review. I had someone reach out on email. They're like, hey, I use the digital format, and for whatever reason, one of the pages that they had was like from something from a different issue. Can you like send me a brief like photo real quick? And I was like, yeah, absolutely. I'm happy to do it. So, stuff like that. Just feel free to reach out. So that was the first email. If you want to continue to send stuff like that. Totally, completely fine. I just love that, folks are starting to interact, which is pretty cool. So we'll definitely keep this going, of course, obviously on the YouTube, but then we got Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and any podcatcher that is out there. I try to have it out there, so that should be good to go. But next week, we'll try to have an Omega, then we'll get to our regular issue, and we'll just kind of keep it going from there. So thanks again so much for tuning in. Really appreciate it, guys, and I will see you in the next one.
Go, 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 go.
This has been a DMW production. Thanks for stopping by.